Welcome back to a new episode of Ask the Patient Advocate podcast. Today, I am so honored to be joined by Alison Tierney, a registered dietitian and board certified specialist in oncology nutrition. Alison not only works professionally to support patients through evidence based nutrition, but she has also lived through her own cancer journey and brings that unique perspective of both a provider and a patient. So, welcome, Alison. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course. So your story is so powerful. Can you start by telling us a little bit about your personal health journey, including infertility, PCOS, and later breast cancer? How has that shaped the way that you approach nutrition and patient care today? That's kind of a lot of questions in one, but just give us a little bit.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I feel like when I think about like my health journey in the last, decade and a half or so, there's quite a bit into it, but I will try to keep it as short as possible, but make sure we understand like where it all started. So anyways, when I was younger, just starting to menstruate and so forth in high school, I was pretty immediately diagnosed with PCOS because of irregular periods, etc. And so that kind of just continued on. I was put on birth control for control. And then fast forward a few years, my husband and I were ready to try to start having a family, came off birth control and started having even more symptoms of my PCOS, essentially because of how the birth control can just also mask the issues. And I knew that I had PCOS. I didn't think that I would have issues with infertility, but I did. And my whole family, in terms of the females in our family, have all had issues in some particular way. So it's definitely genetic, hereditary. We all kind of carry that. And so, anyways, where my journey of nutrition and everything actually started, I always say that it started as an athlete because I was super interested in sports performance. Because I was an athlete, I wanted to know how to naturally improve my athletic performance. I played all the way through college. And when I was in college playing, it actually started to shift into oncology. Nutrition was really, truly my interest. And that is because of several cancer diagnoses within my family that occurred during that time. And so that's where my whole idea of, okay, sports performance is great, but let's look at longevity and lifespan and health span and all those things. And so I started to become really interested in that. And I was not going to school to be a dietitian at the time. I was a business major. I ended up graduating with my business degree and trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And my now husband, boyfriend at the time, was a very powerful advocate for me to go back to school to be a dietitian. And he kept saying, like, this is what you love. Like, you're always researching it. You're always learning about it. And so I looked into going back to school and dietetic school. And so as soon as I learned more about it, I'm like, this is what I'm doing. And I want to be an oncology dietitian. So although I was open to other ideas, I wanted to be in oncology truly because of how it had impacted my family for generations. And I wanted to know how nutrition could play a role in to help reduce the risk of developing cancer. How could it help them during the course of treatment? And also, how could it help them in survivorship to reduce the risk of recurrence? So I often say that I wouldn't be standing before you talking about this if we didn't find out that, yes, of course, nutrition plays a role in all aspects of that.